Hey, what's going on? Goldaz here with another gameplay commentary. Today we're going to do a Floodgate 10 as Destro. So just going to kind of talk through my thought process and how we're doing things. So this first pull coming up here, we group all of these snipers and bring them up here beside the different shredders and things like that. Pop Lust and immediately going to go Infernal, Rain of Fire, put in a Cataclysm after I get out of the Shreddinator. Channel Demon Fire, and then basically we're just going to pick a prio target and just Rain of Fire spam. So Incinerate whenever we need to gain some shards, and just spamming Rain of Fire. Keep an eye on those snipers down below. They don't always want to come up as well, so just make sure you're interrupting and kicking. But our main priority here is simply just to spam Rain of Fire as much as possible. And then proccing Cataclysm on cooldown, Channel Demon Fire on cooldown to extend those withers. If we find any in this pack that don't have wither on them, like these snipers, they don't generally get hit by the very first Cataclysm. So just make sure you're dotting them up when you spot them. And Rain of Fire is good up until 4 targets. Right now we should be looking to Soulfire here, or sorry, Shadowburn, just to kind of start to snipe some of these low health ones. The general rule of thumb is 4 mobs or more Rain of Fire. 3 or less head to just Chaos Bolts and hoping for Mayhem / Havoc to do the damage there. So this week we just have the Dark Prayer Emissary, which is pretty simple. Just make sure you get it. Just get it down when it's in the middle of packs. So coming in here, we don't have our Infernal, but it's on 30 seconds. I do think I make a bit of a mistake here. Cancel that Cataclysm at the last second because the pack was going to move, and I know that we're going into a larger pool of ads here, so making sure I can get as many withers out as possible. My Infernal comes up in about 10 seconds or so. So I'm kind of saving my combo here to get some damage out. But everything seems so low that I think it's not really worth it. But then we start to introduce this next pack here. So it gets into that awkward mode where I have the cooldowns, but I'm holding them. If they're on cooldown, it would be better. It would line up with the next boss. Well, the first boss. Much better. But I'm kind of stuck in this, like, hey, you made your bed, now you got to sit in it. Kind of a mindset here. So this pack is pretty chill for Destrolock. One thing I will say is that it's just the scaffolding that comes down if you've got a melee heavy comp. Trying to help out by getting the scaffolding knocked down so that they can actually target them. As well as those surveyors, they do huge damage if they get that channel off. It also leaves a big thing on the ground there so that if anybody stands in it, they're in a bad spot. So try focus those surveyors down, make sure you're interrupting, stunning, kicking, all that great stuff. But yeah, so this is one of those scenarios where you get to see like slightly unoptimal gameplay, to be completely honest. I'm in a weird spot right now. I also have my proc as well to spawn my Demon Lord or whatever he's called, so I'm holding all my cooldowns there. They probably, at least Maleficence, oh my god, I can't even pronounce it. You know what I'm talking about. At least that would have definitely come up twice by now. So now you see here I have a somewhat decent pull. A good group of ads here, so now I'm able to just do Channel Demon Fire, stuns, Rain of Fire spam as much as possible here, incinerating and conflagging just to get additional shards as well. If you ever do have a Mayhem proc, or you're just rolling Havoc and you want to throw it out there, try and get Shadow Burns going in this as well, just to prevent yourself from capping on shards. You saw I did cap for a little bit just there a second ago, but it's pretty chill now. So now I'm just going around trying to Shadow Burn as much as possible. Get as many shards going so that we're ready to go straight away when we get into the next pack. So just spamming Shadow Burn, just trying to get all those free shards back. And to be honest, Shadow Burn does almost as much damage as a Chaos Bolt when it crits. So do not hesitate in throwing it out there. Everything dotted up here. Pressing our cooldowns. And just Rain of Firing. Like it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward from pack to pack. At the level of a 10, you do get quite chunky pulls as well. Everything here is pretty manageable. The way I have my plater profile set up, it's actually using quasi plater. So if you Google Quasi Plater or look for him on YouTube, awesome guy. But it just marks all the casters or people that can potentially cast in pink as well. So a very clear indicator on who's going to cast here. So this boss is kind of cool. There's 4 little robots or drones that kind of hover around the boss. While those drones are up, the boss takes slightly reduced damage. So generally you just focus down these drones, and then the boss will enter into an AoE stage where they basically stand still, they pump out AoE damage, but they take extra damage during that phase as well. So ideally, if you can, you want to try and hold cooldowns so that you can absolutely melt the boss during that. In this scenario for me, I'm just popping them on cooldown, just getting them out, getting as much damage onto these drones as possible so that we get into that damaging phase a little bit sooner. So as you can see, we've absolutely melted this first set of ads. Emissary is up. We're going to try and nuke that down as well so that we get the buff. And it times in really nicely now with just the single target damage onto the boss here. So you'll see here I'm able to get a good few Chaos Bolts out. 2.8 million on that Chaos Bolt. Some big numbers here with this damage increase. 6 million there. That was crazy. So yeah, so this guy takes huge amount of damage during this phase. So if you've got a decent comp where you can feel comfortable holding your cooldowns and letting some of your teammates focus the mechs, that works out perfectly. So that's kind of what we did here. I focused the mechs. Then my teammates had some cooldowns that they could pop when he actually became vulnerable, taking that extra damage. The boss is always vulnerable. You can damage the boss and ignore these ads a little bit. And that kind of makes sense as he gets, maybe below 20% or so, that kind of range, depending on the health of the ads at that moment in time. But pretty simple boss. There's a couple things to kick from the drones. He does put this lightning on the ground here. So you do have to kind of start at one side of this ledge, move up and down. And then as you saw there's this kind of sonic boom thing that basically has this big circle that if you come into contact with it, it'll push you back. The best way to do that is to step back from the boss, actually wait until it fires, run backwards, and then in kind of a J shape around it to make sure that it's not knocking you back as well. If you stand still and just let it knock you back, you will take huge amounts of damage and almost certainly die. Some of the very first times I've actually played this key or this dungeon when I was just kind of learning when it came out week 1, I got knocked off the ledge there to the left-hand side of the screen at the moment. So you'll see there, that was actually really bad for me. I took a lot of damage there. Pretty much got saved by my healer. So it can happen very, very easily as well. So yeah, this boss can take huge damage. You'll see here the group, we're all averaging about 3 million TPS on this boss as well. So it just shows you that you're putting out huge amounts of damage on this boss for a long period of time. I think I'm just throwing out some Rain of Fires there simply because I was just capping on shards. I had a bit of movement going, got a little disoriented. But now that I've settled in, spamming these Chaos Bolts, getting that damage done. From a routing perspective as well, we want to come up here and this, what's he called again? This Blood Warp is crazy damage as well. So make sure you're doing as much as you can to focus him down, putting your defensive, Dark Pact, Health Stones, things like that. If you're playing another class, any of your kind of 1 minute lighter cooldowns when he does cast the, what is the name of the spell? When he casts a spell that basically targets the entire team, make sure that here we go, Warp Blood is incoming. This just basically targets every single member of the team. Does huge damage. I believe there's a healing absorb as well during this phase as well, so it's very difficult for the healer to get the team back up after this. So just make sure that you're helping out with personals, health stones, and most importantly, damage to get it dead. Here's an interesting scenario actually. A little bit of miscommunication or misunderstanding on the routing here. We generally don't pull these inspectors, but we noticed in a couple of runs that we were slightly light on percentage at the end, so we pulled 2 extra mobs. So we were going to grab these just to replace that. However, I think we kind of forgot, the tank remembered, nobody else did, or communication was poor, put it that way. Long story short, the tank ends up dying, and now we have one of these kind of very pug reminiscent scenarios where everybody's just running around doing their own thing. I'm about to get meleeed, so I jump up top here, use that gate to try and get away, and then just start, killing them off here as well. So Not the greatest use of time here, but we did kind of, you know, save the pull, especially anytime your tank dies. It's always going to be a difficult scenario trying to, you know, recover and make sure that nobody else goes down with them. So to get away there with, you know, we've 2 deaths overall. Our healer unfortunately died in the very, very first big pull. That kind of happens. It's a difficult one. But then on this pull here, the tank, we're still kind of getting ourselves back together. We're a little shook up after that last piece there, but now we've got together. We're working in harmony again. So aggro goes back off these guys. And now another Blood Warp. Popping absolutely everything here. Rain of Fire just to get the shards uncapped here. Throw another one out. Run away here. Pop Dark Pact. And now I'm going to go and move more into Chaos Bolting the main target here, I feel. No, I capped, so I'm definitely going to do more Rain of Fire here as well. Probably there's a good period to swap into Chaos Bolting here just to get this main target down a little bit faster, but there is a lot of ads kind of happening at the moment, so it's always a judgment call as well. Like, do you have a prio target that you really need to get down? Yes or no? See how much damage this thing does. We did lose our healer there as well. He's on only 2% though, so we can tackle him before rezzing the healer here. Get this emissary down and keep on going, but yeah, there's probably an area for improvement for me there. Just by, you know, getting a couple Chaos Bolts going. And here's another tip, actually, and I don't see enough Pug Warlocks doing this. Just throwing down your health stones, just anytime there's a little bit of downtime. Basically, if you're, as a Warlock yourself, it's basically one of your built-in cooldowns, so you're definitely going to be health stoning, you know, 6 to 9 times a dungeon. You should basically be doing it anytime you're kind of low or you've taken some kind of damage to help your healer out. So don't be shy popping those health stones. And then vice versa, like, you know, getting them available for your teammates so that they can do the same thing. You won't see a lot of pugs use health stones as much as you'd like. You know, they're not used to having them. They don't have them macroed sometimes. You know, they just have their healing pots, which are far superior in terms of the amount of healing that they put out, but they also cost money. So just a call out there as well. Just try and make them readily available, not only for yourself, but for your entire team. And here I'm just Rain of Firing, channel Demon Bolts, you know, all the kind of regular, or sorry, channel Demon Fire, which fires Demon Bolts, I guess. Just getting all of that out here as well. Now, the last couple times that we've done this dungeon, we've ended up accidentally pulling some crabs. I'm not exactly sure why or how. But just be aware of that. These crabs can get pulled pretty easily. And now I'm just kind of shadow burning, using those like as basically snipes. You're trying to just get like that last killing blow so that you can regen those shards and do more Chaos Bolts, more Rain of Fire, things like that. Kill this emissary, get the buff, and it's going to nicely time up here as we go into these 2 shredders. I'd highly recommend, if you don't already have it, the weak aura package that just highlights every kind of spell and thing in most of the dungeons out there at the moment. Sorry, all the dungeons out there at the moment. But basically, what it lets us do is get that alert, Shred Nation, dodge attack, 3, 2, 1, move your feet, and you'll take 0 damage if you move immediately. So 1, 2, 3, start moving. And I was a little bit slow there, took a bit of damage, but these things really, really hurt. You can get overlapped, you can get, you know, you saw from the very first pull in the dungeon, you can get 2 or 3 of these spawning on you at the exact same time, especially if you're accidentally stacked. So just be very aware of that. And I mean, anytime you see Shred Nation coming from DBM or Weak Aura or any kind of big wigs, little wigs, anything like that, just make sure that you're moving here. I greeded a little bit for damage there, and as you saw, pretty much died. My healer actually must have fat fingered his bubble. He put it on himself there. You can see from the big debuff add-on that I have. But we got everything killed. Jeez, I almost accidentally pulled everything over there. We made the call to melt the emissary before going into the boss. Probably could have brought him up a little bit more, but that's fine. And now I have every cooldown here. This is a happy place for a Destro. Popping all my cooldowns here and just Chaos Bolting to the moon here. Praying for Havoc procs, which I get. And now I'm just going to blast as many of these Chaos Bolts as I can. Throw a Shadow Burn in here anytime that you have Havoc. Or even if you're just about to cap shards, like there, I just threw a Shadow Burn in. And now, perfectly as I'm capped, I'm able to go and just spam a couple of these Chaos Bolts here. Generally, I focus the big guy in here rather than the caster. And as we're going through this boss fight, the way that these mechanics work are, there's two bosses. There's one that casts all the time, not really interruptible. And then the big oaf, who's just a kind of big tanky beady fella. Making sure I keep Wither up on both targets here. I actually let it drop on the second boss, which was bad. But every now and again they drop bombs. And these bombs go randomly across the room. And the way that it works is that there's groupings of bombs. So you can stand between bombs, wait till it times out or gets dispelled. You generally do not want to wait for it to time out because it hurts a lot. So you do need to have that awareness and be kind of standing beside bombs at all times. Because there's either a knock-up. So right now there's no bombs left. So I just should get insta-dispelled here. Don't have to do anything. Take damage. So you can either get rid of bombs by the dispel and knocking them up, as I kind of demonstrated there. Or the other method is that the big guy will charge. So whenever the big guy charges, you kind of line him up with the bomb. And then at the last second, step out of the way. So right here, I see 3 bombs behind me. This knock-up here, this guy should go to those 3. Doesn't have time, doesn't want to take much more damage from the dot. So he moves. You'll see here that I stand in position to knock 2 or 3 of them. But the boss is dead. So all good here. Big moment of, oh my god, I'm such a noob. We must have ran this dungeon 4 or 5 times before we realized. This boss drops a little gun once it dies. You see these red circles at the floor there? They're coming from a ship up above in the sky. And if you don't press that gun, the ship basically will just keep those orange circles going around. And as you're fighting the boss, if you go into those circles, they basically just bombard you. They shoot like, I don't know, 10 plus little small circles at you that follows you as you run around. So it makes the next boss pretty much impossible. Well, not impossible, but incredibly difficult compared to what it should be. So making sure that you're on top of that. And clicking it after the last boss is a must. Probably sounds like a well duh moment to most people listening to this, but you gotta learn at some point and figure these things out and be open to kind of saying, whoops, we totally missed that, that was bad. Slight mistake here as well, grabbing these divers. You can get past without pulling them. So just be aware of that as well. Now, these kelps are crazy difficult if you are not interrupting and kicking on time as well. So we're basically, I'm stunning with my Infernal there right off the bat, getting Wither on as many of them as possible. And then we're throwing a couple of other stuns out. So we're getting interrupts. I just threw a Shadow Flame out there. So this is like a little bit of an interrupt / DPS race as well. You want to have as few of these restorative algae casts going off as possible. Ideally 0. But that's why we're basically just stunning, rotating our cooldowns. Really helps to be on comms for this as well. But if you are pugging, you are solo. Just basically, hey, cannot let any of these casts go out. And I'm going to do my best to stun and interrupt as many of them as I can. Or else that pull can go on, honestly, infinitely as well. You may notice I did pop Infernal there as well. Purely for the stun. Well, not purely. I get the damage. That's great. But the stun is actually more important than the damage, in my opinion. And for this boss as well, we can go with our 1 minute cooldown of Malevolence, whatever it's called. You'll see me popping now. Malevolence. I can't say that properly. Anyway. Basically, the way that this boss works is that you and another player get tied together. You get linked for 15 seconds, and you take damage throughout that whole period of time, but the further away you are, the more damage you will take as well. So the general rule of this in pugs is that everybody moves left. Always move left, no matter what, unless it's like impossible to move left. Everybody can get linked except for the healer. They previously had the tank as the immune one. However, they've changed that recently. So everybody except for the healer can get linked together. If the tank is dead, of course, the healer becomes eligible. But you basically want to just move to the left, dodge the waves, dodge the big beam that comes out as well. If you have to move right, try and communicate it as well. There are a couple of seconds where you get free, free movement. You don't have to worry about it. But yeah, pretty much rinse and repeat. It's not the hardest boss, but it can be hard, especially in pugs as well, where you don't have coordination and people are just doing whatever they feel like. You want to try and move like a lot left in scenarios like this, so that you're just buying yourself as much room as possible and as much space as possible, so that you're not getting whacked by these little waves that come out. Boss has a moderate amount of health as well, so it will take a good few cycles to get through this. But just do your best. On this boss, it can be difficult to cast for Destro locks, so don't be afraid to use your shadow burns in place of chaos bolts. And honestly, if you need to double up a shadow burn or something like that, just to make sure that you're not getting capped on shards, go for it. Do it. Just make sure at the end of the day you're doing everything in your power not to get capped on shards. And just getting as much damage out there as possible. And if that means, hey, you're using shadow burn a little bit too soon, it's better than doing no damage as well. You get decent periods like there. I was able to get 3 or 4 casts off in a row. So you can get those chaos bolts out. But just prioritize staying alive is the main thing here. As you can see, that was pretty chaotic there. Thankfully, the vines did die, so we had a bit more free movement there. But other than that, pretty clean fight. Took a bit of damage that I shouldn't have taken, but nah, that's fine. Little strat here, a little trick here, just to make sure that the space is clear enough for the duration of finding this kind of mini boss, is you just stack behind this little pillar here before popping all of your stuff. And it just groups up the balls as well. Just gives you a lot more space over here. Allows you to have one extra set of balls come out. This boss does, or mini boss does, kind of three main things, I guess. There's a big frontal that you have to dodge. There's the bubble burp, as we see here, and we saw at the beginning as well, that basically goes on every player, drops a bubble that will hurt you if you touch it. And then that big frontal there that we saw, or maybe I said that one already. And then there's this dot that comes on as well. So Dark Pact, Health Stones, Wall if you have nothing else. When I say wall, I mean Unending Resolve, basically your biggest defensive cooldown. Just use that, basically, and you should be fine. Just help your healer out here as well. This is just a nasty mini-boss for the healer, mainly. And do as much damage as you can. Don't stand and stuff. Pretty standard, the golden rules of WoW, basically. The bubbles do despawn after a while, so you will have the floor kind of clear up a little bit. So there's that to look forward to as well. These are very similar mobs that we've seen the entire dungeon. The inspectors, surprise inspection, jumps behind you, does a frontal. There's plenty of time to get out of the way of this though, so moving left or right, or any backpedalers out there, perfect time backpedal, you'll actually dodge this. But the main kind of focus here is the electrician, I guess. I don't know, is my bars cutting that off, or does he have a short name? But just making sure that you're kicking these lightning bolts and doing as much damage as possible. Right now I'm trying to single target it to really focus it down. So I'm just spamming chaos bolts directly into it. But we should be good here. Just kind of kicking up the last few packs here before we get into the final boss as well. So no crazy kind of strategies or knowledge that you need for this particular section. It's pretty much just go pack to pack, get them all down, and get ready to fight the last boss. I will say, actually, as we come to the last boss, there is a mob coming up here. I forget their name, but they're not mini boss level, but they are incredibly strong as well. So you'll see one coming up here. What's its name? Oh, I didn't see it. Jump starter or something along those lines. So this jump starter here does all these circles that you're seeing on the ground. Just generally just does a lot of damage to the tank as well, and has a lot of health, so sticks around for a long time. So just make sure that you're on top of that, making sure that you're interrupting and stunning the rest of the pack as much as possible. right now for this strategy, we're trying to melt the casters right down and then getting focused on the big guy afterwards. Once we get on top of him, it becomes a little bit easier to manage. There is a lot of movement still, but he's not too difficult, not the end of the world. It is a bit more difficult coming up here now, where there's two of them together, basically. So just watching out for, you know, stepping on the things on the floor and just focusing one down is generally what we've always tried to do. So we pick one and say, okay, we're going left or we're going right or whatever. Make sure you're just handling that just to help kind of reduce some of the damage. We do have a pretty heavy cleave comp as well. So I think this is one of those scenarios where while we did call a focus target, they both just kind of die at the same time. I'm getting, you know, mayhem procs. Hunters just cleave like crazy. Unholy DKs just cleave like crazy. So even though we focus that guy, you'll see that this guy is still at 30% or so, 34% by the time the other one's being dealt with. So just a call out there as well. Try and always pick a prio target in these scenarios where you have two tough ads that do the same things. It reminds me of you know, Theater of Pain and dungeons like that as well, where you're coming across the bridge and those two guys that do the fear. Or not Theater of Pain, whatever that one's called from last season. And now just kind of popping our opener here as well. So we want to make sure that we're precasting Cataclysm, hitting our Infernal, and then Malevolence at the end. Kind of had to... I ruined my Channel Demon Fire there because I did have a beam on me when I casted it. So just trying to get out as many Chaos Bolts as possible, making sure that we don't let Wither drop. Channel Demon Fire should probably come out here. I Shadow Burn just to get rid of some shards, and now I'll do Demon Fire because I was going to cap on shards if I didn't. Making sure you're throwing a Shadow Burn in there as well, trying to keep that up as much as possible. The way that this boss works is there's a couple of different mechanics. So this one here is probably the most deadliest, is you get this little spark on you, and you need to run it through a puddle. So you'll notice that some of the puddles here are electrocuted and some of them are not electrocuted. If the puddle's been electrocuted, you can't bring the ball through it, so you gotta be very careful there. And then the other piece is that zap that you just saw on myself and the hunter to the left. If you get targeted with that and the circle is overlapping with the pool, it will remove the pool. So make sure that you're not standing on a quote-unquote good pool, so that you're not removing it, and then all of a sudden somebody doesn't have somewhere where they can get rid of their spark, and then they basically die as a result from it. So as a ranged, I always like to stay towards the back. These ones on the right-hand side of the screen here look pretty good to use. The ones on the left look kind of difficult to get to. Maybe I can sneak in through the gap, or maybe just even take some damage to get over there. I'm basically just trying to think to myself, which ones is nobody else going to be involved with? Or potentially, am I going to take it away from the tank or anything like that? So in this scenario here, I go right into the corner. I'm just building up some shards here. I see my Infernals off cooldown, so I'm just going to pop everything again. If you have a pre-pod or anything like that on cooldown, if you look at the right-hand side of my screen, I have 3 minutes on mine, so I'm not using it right now. But yeah, just using your 2-minute cooldowns on cooldown, basically getting them off as much as possible. Remembering that Channel Demon Fire does extend the duration of your Wither as well, so don't reapply that if you're going to do it. Reapply it after the bonus time that you've gotten has come out, or reapply it and then put the bonus time on it as well. Doesn't really matter, it kind of equates to the same thing. You can get into like a nice like lined up stage where you're always just able to channel just to keep it up. You never really have to reapply, but it's difficult to get there. And now you can see we've finished the dungeon. A couple of mistakes, a couple of areas for improvement, but overall damage of 2.4 million. And the Hunter at 2.55, so even our Demon, our Unholy DK is at 2.3 as well, so just big damage throughout the entire dungeon. And overall a pretty clean +10. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, but thanks for watching. Peace.